Today I'm going to talk about why I'm still not looking for a man god. I'd never met anyone I'd consider marrying. I never saw anything I would want a marriage like. I mean, I knew some happily married people, but it wasn't anything I would be happy with. I could do a Me Too video on all the bad behaviors I've encountered and all the bad things I've seen. When I was really young, I wanted family and children, but by the time I was 30, I'd finished school and bought a little house, and I was content to be single. And then I met my ex. He was unlike anyone I'd ever dated. We got along great. We wanted the same things. We had the same goals and dreams and lifestyle, or so I thought. He wanted his family to be the family I never had. He wanted kids. He wanted me to know his religion. To address all the snotty and crude comments I've got over the years, I didn't marry for security or the dollar signs or his stuff. I mean, I knew he shared an apartment. He claimed it was his college furniture and his big screen TV and, electronics, the boy toys. He wasn't a pretty boy by any means, and it wasn't for the sex. I knew he was rarely interested and was perfunctory at best, but, I wasn't a little kid. I thought if everything else was in alignment, could I live like that? I thought I'd actually found a partner in this life. Well, we got married, and 9 months later, I got the mail, and I found a credit card maxed out at $10,000. And I was just flabbergasted, because he swore he lived within his means. He was making more than minimum wage. And I pulled a credit report and found $30,000 in unsecured debt and a lease. His car was a lease that he couldn't even drive because the mileage was maxed out. And what'd he say? I was in college. I didn't know any better. I screwed up. Okay. So it created a budget. It was going to take years to pay off. But went well for a few months, and I was stupidly refinanced the house and took out $20,000. Yeah, I'm an idiot. I kept $6,000 to pay for the wedding, for what his parents didn't pay for, and I handed him $14,000. A month or so later, we go out with my friends, and at the end of the night, he pulls out that credit card. He had to pay. He paid, and he used every penny he'd put down on that card. That was my ex. He always had to be the big man. He always had to buy. 3 or 4 months later, I get the mail, and there's a new credit card maxed out at $5,000 in cash advances. And I am like, what? I'm just absolutely floored. And he starts with the crying, I screwed up, I didn't know. I'm like, you didn't just screw up. What did you spend $5,000 in cash advances on? And then he got violent. There's shit flying, there's glass breaking, and the phone rings. And he picks it up, and he's on the phone with his friend laughing like nothing even happened. And then I understood. He was just energetically flatlined. There was absolutely no emotion behind anything he said or did. A week later, he comes in, and he says, I told Mommy I did it for us. And then he says, I can't believe you didn't give me all the money from the house. God, I'm such an idiot. I'm an idiot. I see it. I own it. Now I went back to eating ramen noodles and peanut butter like I was 17, 18, 19 years old again. It was no small miracle I kept the lights on and the mortgage paid, especially after the mortgage almost doubled. Then we had $6,000 in a savings account, and I went and looked, and it's gone. There's $300. You get it. He'd just laugh. I had no legal recourse. I had stupidly put his name on the mortgage, and he wasn't physically abusive, and I had no recourse. So I tried marriage counseling. And all he did was he just said the right things. He said what they wanted to hear. And I show up, and I've got statements. He's still sucking $60 2 or 3 nights a week out of the cash account, still racking up credit cards, and he'd just get violent. He had these people looking at me like I had horns on top of my head. That's it. I'm done. So in less than 2 years, he destroyed me. He destroyed me financially. He destroyed my home. We won't even get into the mental and emotional abuse because I guess I'm supposed to just put up with that in order to have a man God. But no, I went to 3 different lawyers. I got estimates on divorce and mediation. I made a list of what was mine, or what I had left from before we got married. And a list of everything he bought, all his toys, all his electronics, all the wedding presents and gifts from his parents. I said, just take it all. Just go. Nope, all he wanted was the dog. He didn't want that dog. He didn't want any responsibility. But I told him, fine, you get a place where you can have the dog, you come get him. Put it in writing. Then all he wanted was the wedding pictures. Nuh-uh. It was all a bold-faced frickin' lie. There was no way. I paid for it. I paid dearly, and I destroyed everything the moment he walked out the door. It was all a lie. 6 months, he's still sitting there. He won't leave. And I'm ready to burn the house down around us. I mean, seriously. I was taking him out. I was taking me out. I was taking the house out. I was just absolutely, I couldn't do it. And he lost another job. 3 jobs he was lost because he was out on the road partying all week instead of actually selling anything. So he goes back home to his mommy's and he decides he doesn't want to go to mediation. He wants a divorce. Well, he drives back to Ohio and we're in front of the magistrate and all he wants is for me to keep him on my health insurance. And they're like, nope, legally you can't do that. Nope. And he's just laughing and his lawyer just looks pissed, right? He knew what he was doing. He's like, I bought a lawyer. I paid for a lawyer. You didn't pay for a lawyer. Mommy paid for a lawyer to sock it to me one more time. I'd have paid any amount to get you out of my life. So in under 2 years, he destroyed my home and almost everything in it. The kitchen chairs, the furniture, the computer, the carpet, the wood floors, destroyed. The appliances. I don't know what he was cooking. He was blowing all the grocery money. And he'd just laugh. I'd come home in the evening and the door would be propped open. The house would be full of bugs. Every light in the house would be on. Cigarettes burning everywhere. The TV blasting. And he'd just be passed out. Everything I did that day, I'd come home and it would just be trashed. Busted lights, busted fixtures, crud on the ceilings. I mean, it wasn't food. It wasn't fingerprints. I don't know what it was. I had to prime the ceilings to get paint to cover after he left. I mean, it looked like an abandoned house in under 2 years. And he'd just laugh. He almost burnt the house down with the grill. I go outside and the siding is melting off the house. He's got the grill up against the house and he just laughed. I mean, I couldn't keep up. Everything I did, he undid. I mean, by the time I got home, it was a disaster area. I just quit. I couldn't keep it clean. I couldn't keep it fixed. I quit replacing stuff until he left. I didn't want anyone in the house. I was so embarrassed and so disgusted. I mean, I found empty beer cans under the bed, in the back of the closet. I found a whole case of empty beer cans stuffed in a piece of luggage in the back of the closet. Drug paraphernalia. I don't even know what it was for. But it wasn't for tobacco or marijuana. That's the only thing I ever had any experience with. And he'd just deny it was his and laugh. Every morning, January or July, didn't matter. Every morning he'd go out, spend 15-20 minutes in the garage warming up the car. Yeah, getting stoned. Saturday, the only thing he ever did that wasn't destructive was he'd cut the grass. And he'd go out and spend 15-20 minutes in the garage, then run around the yard, missing big patches, and be passed out on the couch by 10 a.m. 2.5 years it took me to get him out of the house. And when he left, he needed a truck and even stole my dolly. Such an idiot. And his family. I mean, his sister acted like it was beneath her to even be in our wedding. I mean, she barely said 2 words. He'd just laugh. And his mom, I'm like, why does your mom treat me that way? He'd just laugh. He said, no one's good enough for mommy. Me and my friends joke that my sister will never bring anyone home, let alone ever get married and have kids, because nobody's good enough for mommy. Yep. Nobody's house, nobody's food, nobody's job, nobody's spouse. I mean, I'd ask what I needed to take or what I needed, And his mother would be like, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you bring that? Well, I asked, and he'd just laugh. He knew what he was doing. He was setting me up to fail. It was just, he knew what he was doing the whole time. So 2.5 years, he finally left, and I went back to working 2 jobs to just try to get myself out from underneath the mess he left, to try to get the house cleaned up. I had to prime the ceilings, paint wouldn't cover, I just ripped out the carpet, I had to refinish all the wood floors just to get the smell out of his drug room, to replace light fixtures, and even then I still couldn't stand to be there. I couldn't stand the memories, and I couldn't even bring myself to refurnish the place. So I went from a 3-bedroom house, fully furnished 3-bedroom house, the full basement, family room, everything I had left fit in a small pod. And then my frenemies of 13 years took over where he left off. Yep, she stood at the back of that pod going, no, take that to the house. No, take that to the house. They knew what they were doing. Yep. So, you know what? If I'm just crazy and I'm just hallucinating that this group's been following me around for almost 15 years, well, then there's not a dozen people who know or even care who he is, okay? And I'd like to say I forgive him. I'd like to say I forgive you, but I really don't believe there's anyone in there to forgive. I forgive myself. I screwed up. I mean, I own that. I understand now why I believed everything you said. So to answer all these bitter, angry, insecure little women, you gotta look the right way to keep a man, God. She just wants my man, God, my house, my job. I don't want it. I don't. Every time you open your mouth, you prove to me that there is absolutely no good reason to ever marry. On a recent example, I go to this woman's book group. Not a religious group, just a book group. And I go a couple times, and there's no problem, and it starts. This woman, she's like, oh, all I ever wanted was to be married. And I was so unhappy for 30 years, but all I ever wanted was to be married. And then I got a divorce. And this guy came up and said, I'm going to marry you. And I said, okay. And now you need to come down and meet my husband's group, and you can be married too. No, thank you. She's like, don't you want to be married? No. Don't know. You have no clue how hard it is not to just bust out laughing every time this starts. And you know what she does? She turns to her friend and says, she belongs in the atheist group. 35 years. I never knew anyone who thought this way, who talked this way, who believed this way. And every time you open your mouth, you just reinforce my beliefs. There is no good reason to ever marry. Now, there's 8 billion special snowflakes on the planet. If you're happy, I'm happy for you. If you're willing to spend a lifetime being unhappy, insecure, and at odds with the one person in this world you're supposed to be in partnership with, well, you seem to be the majority. Have at it.